Você, você, você. Você, você, você.
And here we are with another episode of Arrays of Living, and it's one of my favorite episodes. It's a guest episode. And we have Sophie Lechner with us, who is here to speak to us on the topic of Solopreneurs Rule. Yes. Anything to do with being self-employed is a good thing. So
Yes.
we are going to talk about this and really educate on why a solopreneur and go from there. But first, let Sophie introduce herself to you. Sophie, thank you for joining us. I look forward to this discussion, and tell us about yourself.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate being invited here. So I have been around for a while. I'm initially half French, half Pakistani, so I've always been around people from all over the world and international, being always in a very international community.
That's a good thing.
Yes, exactly. And so
Yeah.
then I decided I want to continue that. And so I was always in a global role. So I did global marketing for
Right.
many, many years, a couple decades. And then I wanted to be my own boss, right? I wanted to have my own business. So I've been a solopreneur since 2012.
Okay.
And this is my second business that I'm doing. I help solopreneurs to find their audience on LinkedIn and engage with them so they can spread their message. If they have a big mission, they can spread their message and find clients and grow their business.
So tell me, we're going to get into this in a lot of ways. Tell me what kind of businesses are best suited to solopreneurship.
Well, so I serve a lot of coaches, so a lot of service oriented businesses, information oriented. So if you want to use your knowledge, your expertise, you want to do consulting, you want to do coaching, I guess some services like advertising or designing and things like that are things that you can do on your own, so you don't need to have any employees, and that you can contact your clients directly. Then you're a business unto yourself and you're a solopreneur. And then as you grow, you might recruit people, then you're no longer a solopreneur.
Well, this is what I think. I really want you to think, because I know one of the messages I certainly tell my young adults as they're thinking about entrepreneurship, right? Not necessarily solopreneurship, but entrepreneurship, is that you don't grow on your own. I tell them that. I don't know of anybody that has grown a business and done it on their own. You need a network, you need people, you need to collaborate. We even heard today, you need joint ventures with something that was being called out. So when I hear about solopreneurs, I'm really fascinated by it, because then you hear the aspect of working in your business, not on your business. So can you give me a sense of all of that as it relates to solopreneurship?
Yeah, no, you're right. In a sense, I hadn't really thought of that before, but it's true that solopreneur is probably a misnomer in a way. It means that basically the business is you and you don't have employees, right? Or partners. So you're alone in that sense. But you're right. You never do business alone. You're always part of networks. You're always part of, you have, maybe you even give a little bit of work to people, but on a contract basis. So it's basically an entrepreneur. It's being an entrepreneur with no employees. That's what a solopreneur is.
And what would make you want to stay that way? Because now you're doing it all, right?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So let me ask you, before you answer that question, let me ask you this other one. So when you outsource some of your stuff, unless you're talking a solopreneur does their own accounting as well and everything, if you outsource like your tax, your accounting and your bookkeeping, are you still considered a solopreneur?
Yeah, because you're basically using you're buying those services from someone, but they're not an employee.
Okay.
So yeah. So
now going back to the original question,
Mhm.
What makes you want to stay that way if you came into the business to grow? What prompts a person to say, I just want to stay by myself, no employees, because they're not going to grow? One of the things I teach in my business course is that the only way to, like, hiring employees actually allows you to grow. If you do it strategically, allows you to
Yes,
grow.
no, that's true. It all comes back to what are your goals? Like,
Mhm.
why did you become an entrepreneur in the first place? So maybe your objective is to build a company of, 10 or 20 or 50 people or whatever it is, right? But it depends also. So the goal, you have your business goals and then you have your life goals as well, right? So what is the kind of lifestyle that you want? And maybe you don't want to be managing, a whole bunch of people. So that's part of the choices that you want to make. And you, as a solopreneur, depending what it is you're offering, you can actually get to a very, substantial income. So it also depends what the goals are in terms of the revenue you want to make, and the not just the revenue, but the personal income you want to make. So all those things come into play.
Okay, very, very interesting. So what advice would you give
Mhm.
about solopreneurs and getting there and getting to that? So somebody, whether a young adult, someone comes to you and say, I'm thinking about going in business. How
Mhm.
do you evaluate that
Mm.
dream, or that decision? I like to
Yeah.
think it's a decision. That
Mhm.
decision to guide them to solopreneurship versus
Mhm.
entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and the other thing I would add before I actually say that is, a lot of entrepreneurs who are going to grow will start as a solopreneur, right? So they will
Right.
start as you don't usually start unless you get capital first, but
Mhm.
usually you'll start by yourself, and then when you grow, you bring someone in and someone more, and and then you can grow. But so someone who wants to do a business, the thing I would say is the most important is to understand whether there's an audience out there for what you have to offer. So, ask yourself, what is it that you want to offer, that you have to offer from your expertise, your passion, what you love doing, what you've learned. What do you want to offer? And then where is the audience? Like, who is the audience that wants what you have to offer? And you have to find that match.
Mhm.
And that's the first thing to do, because if you don't find that, you need to pivot rapidly. You
Right.
need to maybe describe what you offer differently, or you need to offer something different, and finding that match is the first thing. From there, then you can build all the rest. You'll build your programs, you build your pricing, all of that. I find a lot of people go into business and they have this idea, and then and I was guilty of doing that in the past as well. And it sounds absurd when I explain it this way, but it's a big tendency that I see very widespread. So
And few of them realize you can actually grow a business without a website.
yes,
Every time
you
they
don't-
talk to me about a website, I say to them, what's the purpose of the website? Informational, interactive. What is the purpose of the website?
yeah.
And then they say, well, I need a website. Why do you need a website? Because that's my business. No, not really. You can grow a
No?
business without a website. So you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I could be biased because I'm a LinkedIn coach, but honestly, if you have to choose between having a LinkedIn profile and a website,
Mm.
I would say in a million years,
Yes,
do the
LinkedIn profile. Yeah.
profile first, because
Yeah.
people will see it. You could spend, $200,000 on a website and nobody goes there.
There. Yeah.
So anything you do on there is just like, whoops.
Yeah.
So,
They need to build something before they do a
Mhm.
website. Totally agree with you. Excellent
Yeah.
advice there. So let's roll in LinkedIn.
Mhm.
How is LinkedIn used? Like, how are you teaching them about LinkedIn and to kind of utilize LinkedIn
Mhm.
as a way
Right.
forward? What is that?
Yeah. So, we were just talking about websites, and the LinkedIn is basically your presence, your digital presence, right? So if you look up anybody on Google, if I look up Jenn Drakes on Google, your LinkedIn is going to come first. That's the first thing that comes. So when people are looking you up, they meet you at a networking event, they're going to Google you, and then what are they going to find? So they're going to go to your LinkedIn profile, therefore have a serious LinkedIn profile that really captures who you are, who you serve, what you offer, how, what that does for them, what is the outcome you give your clients. And very, very importantly, a lot of people keep their LinkedIn very dry and like resume-like. Very important, say in there why. What is your passion? Why you're doing this? That's so, so, so important. Yeah.
But just what is it that you're guiding them on about LinkedIn?
Yes. So once you have your profile, you need to be putting content out there. So some people, you will hear some coaches, LinkedIn coaches will say, you need to start reaching out and sending a lot of DMs, direct messages to people. And I am not of that philosophy. I don't believe in that. I don't like receiving them, and I don't tell my people to send them. So I believe that you need to create a magnetic presence. So my thing is called the magnet method, my program. You create a magnet with your profile, with your content, and you attract customers to you as opposed to chasing them down, right?
Right.
So you write content that's all about who is the customer, what is their pain point, what are they struggling with, all of that, and give them solutions, give them help. So some people are afraid of like sharing everything they have to offer. And I say, no, put it all out there. Yeah. Everything, like everything I teach, you can actually find. I blog about it. I write posts. I help people out. So it's all out there because you need to help people before they become your clients.
Right.
So imagine that your audience, your ideal client, is out there on the other side of the screen of the post, and talk to them and share the wisdom that you have with them. And when they see that, they're going to want more, and they're going to subscribe, and they're going to read you, and then they're going to want to interact with you, comment on your stuff, and then they're going to want to talk to you, and then they'll sign up for what you have to offer. Because there's going to be this alignment,
right?
And the know, like, and trust factor will grow and grow. And so that's what I teach them to do.
Awesome. That is awesome. The one thing that I found here was something interesting. I found work in terms of working and interacting with young adults. A lot of them were on like different platforms like TikTok, or few were on Facebook. They were a little bit more on Facebook, but few of them were not on LinkedIn. What I'm now seeing though is that in the schools, depending on what programs they're in, before they even graduate or anything, one of the tasks is to make sure they open up a LinkedIn profile. And I was so pleased with that change. And I keep telling them, if you're looking for a job, if your next step is to come out of school and look for a job, you need to be on LinkedIn. You need to let go of the TikTok and be on LinkedIn, right? And I'm now seeing the schools jump on that bandwagon. And I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Yes, and you're right. I am so delighted that schools are doing that, because you need to get started early on LinkedIn, or as soon as possible. So you can start when you're 60, but you're going to have, some catching up to do. So the sooner you can do that and continue, populating it, let's say with, everything, like every time you have a job, make sure you update your experience section. When you work on a project, write a little post about it and put it in your featured section on your profile, all those things, because then as soon as somebody, when you want your next job, somebody will look you up and they'll see already your history. They'll see that you're consistent with it and you have all this experience under your belt, and they'll see your thinking, and you'll differentiate yourself from your peers a lot. Really,
and I think it comes into career management too, because just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean it's not a career. It's still a career. It's just a path. It's just one of the paths in your career. How about the pages? How about like the LinkedIn pages? Does anyone need that, or you just stick? And so let's get over the pages, and then I'll go to another aspect.
Yeah. So you can have a company page. And what I say usually is, as long as you're a solopreneur, you may as well not have a company page, and then just use your personal page as your company.
Okay.
Once you start to have 1, 2, or 3 employees, it makes sense to have a company page, because then you'll post your content there, and then the employees can just share it from there and add to it and all of that. But if you're a solopreneur and you have a company page, it's like now you have 2 places to keep up to date and put posts, and it's unnecessary complication, in my opinion.
And then the other thing on the LinkedIn profile, you have things like recommendations. Like, what sections do you think is necessary? Because I know when I first started on LinkedIn, actually about 3 years or 4 years ago, the only thing I was on social media on was LinkedIn. I was nowhere else to be seen. But I saw it as a, keeping in touch with colleagues and all of that. Of course, when I made the pivot to really build a personal brand and to go out, then it meant I needed to make that leap. But one of the things that I found was, you have a detailed resume potentially. Like, what sections are most important, and do you need recommendations? And sometimes people give you what are those skills on LinkedIn. So can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, sure. So the skills I don't spend a lot of time on, because I feel it's really the recommendations that will make a difference. So at the top, you have the banner. You get that anyway. The photo, the headline, which is right under your photo, you get that anyway. Some people, believe it or not, don't have an about section, which to me is like the most absurd thing on planet. But so you need to check and put an about section and write about yourself, right? I recommend having a featured section, which allows you to put either access to a website or a link to your blog, or an article you've written. You can also feature your posts as you're writing them. So those are great opportunities, or a video and things like that. You should have a section for your activity. And then after that, and your experience and your education. Those are the main things. And then you've got other things like volunteer activities, projects, books, awards, blah, 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 and all these other things. You can have that, sure, but don't spend your time like crazy. Now, recommendations is very important. It's important in 2 ways. First, because people are going to look at them, but also if you have fewer than, I think it's 5 recommendations, then LinkedIn is going to consider your profile is not quite 100% up to date. And then you're not going to show up as high in people's searches and things like that. So always ask for recommendations, and it's good to continue doing that on a regular basis. So, a few years down the road, when you need a new job or you need whatever, you have recommendations that are there sort of stacked up, as opposed to like, all of a sudden you have to go and ask for new ones,
Okay. So now, as we go back now to the solopreneur aspect, what brought you now going specifically? What is your story in terms of arriving at solopreneurship?
Yeah, so it's interesting, because when I first started being, an entrepreneur, I was, like we was talking about in the beginning, my intent was to build a bigger company and start having, I had this whole org chart. that did not happen. So the whole thing was just like a lot harder than I thought. It was very complicated. There's a million reasons. It worked, but it kind of didn't work at the scale that I was intending. And the kind of work that it was not meant for solopreneurship. So I was like kind of solo doing it. There was just a mismatch, and it was miserable. So I changed. And when I had been helping people with their LinkedIn forever anyway. So people kept telling me, you need to be a LinkedIn coach. I was like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I started and got clients, and then I thought, this works. And now my ambitions are very different. That has to do with, stage of life as well, stuff like that. Now I have absolutely no intention of having employees at all. I don't want that headache. I want a certain lifestyle. I want to spend my time coaching clients, and I want X number of clients and no more, and group
Right.
programs. And, so I've built this business around my lifestyle as opposed to the opposite.
The other way.
So now it's different. Yeah.
Awesome.
So for me, solopreneur is the thing.
So tell me now, as we lead into wrapping up, is there any last minute things that you want to say to the audience? Let them know where they can reach out to you, especially helping them with LinkedIn. I'm sure a lot of people will reach out. So tell them how they can get to you and what you offer, whatever. It's your time to do your plug.
Okay. Yeah. So you can go to LinkedIn and put in the search bar Sophie Lechner, Sophie, and then Lechner, Lechner, and you'll find me. And you'll have that in the show notes as well, right? My LinkedIn link, etc. The easiest is to send me a connection request and tell me where you heard from me, about me. And we'll chat, and I'll send you a link to book a call, and we can chat. I have a starter package, which is just doing your profile, and that's a very simple, project. Well, it's not. It takes some work, but it's a simple step project. And then I have different packages, based on what people's needs are. But I'll be very happy to get on a call. I love meeting new people, especially young people. And so I'll be very happy to give you some pointers, whether, you become a client or not.
And especially for anybody watching, by all means, reach out. But if you happen to be a young adult, I encourage you even more doubly to reach out, because that profile is paramount to you connecting with people who can offer you work or be a client, depending on if you're going down that self-employed route. So it's a very important first step towards your career. So I encourage that. On that note, we will wrap up. Thank you, Sophie, for being on the show. Loved having you. Such an interesting topic. And as I always say, from my heart to yours,
thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Welcome back, everyone, to Arrays of Living. You just listened to episode 3, season 4, Solopreneurs Rule with Sophie Lechner. Make sure to follow Jenn Drakes on all social media platforms so you don't miss out on the next episode. Also, join our Catalytic Club Discord to get exclusive news about Jenn Drakes. Thank you for listening.